Hey everyone, Jessie here from Jessie on a Journey and Travel Blog Prosperity, here to talk to you about a very important topic, and that is how to protect yourself from getting in trouble for copyright infringement when it comes to the photos you use on your blog. I know for many bloggers this topic is confusing. How do you properly do it? Or you may think you're doing it right, but maybe you're not. Or, very common, you're doing everything right, but you're not fully protecting yourself. And if you're not protecting yourself, you may find yourself having to pay big penalties. Now, before we dive in, I do want to mention that I am not a lawyer. This video is just based on my experience. I've been blogging since 2011 and I've learned quite a bit in that time. But if you do want to hear from an actual lawyer who can provide tips on how to blog legally and how to protect your blog, I have a podcast episode with blog posts to pair on how to legally protect your travel blog. And this was an interview with attorney and legal coach Lisa Fraley. She's a wealth of information. She goes over the important pages to have on your website, how do you copyright or trademark your blog, and just things you can do to protect yourself. So I will link this in the video description. Additionally, I invite you to grab access to my free travel blogger resource library. It includes 55 plus resources, all meant to help you grow your traffic, community, and income. There are Mad Libs that are going to help you get to know your audience. There's email marketing workbooks that are going to help you grow and nurture and monetize your list. I've got a blog post from scratch template that's going to help you create SEO optimized content. There are Trello boards and cheat sheets and all different resources that are going to help you grow your traffic, grow that email list, launch products, work with brands, and more. So feel free to pause this video to just go grab that in the video description. And when you're back, let's dive into the strategy. So let's kick things off by talking about where to actually source photos. So the best place to get photos is yourself. Original images. Here I am in my 2-week Bali itinerary. Here's a photo of me in the Mupu Rice Terrace near Ubud. Here is me after hiking Mount Agung. That was very, very hard. Hardest thing I've ever done. Here is, a photo. I'm not in it, but I took it. And it says photo via Jessie Festa of one of the pools at Padma Resort. So what's happening with this is I know that I can use those photos because I own the copyright. I took them, but I'm also building trust with my audience. In today's day and age, when you can hop on ChatGPT and say, give me a 2-week Bali itinerary and slap that on a website. I mean, we all know it's not going to be the best writing. It's not going to be that engaging, but people are a little more like, can I trust this? Did this person really do this? Even beyond ChatGPT, some people do articles that are fully research-based. I want people to know that this 2-week Bali itinerary is based on my own 2-week trip. I do that through the writing itself, through, great content, great tips, anecdotes, firsthand stories, but also the images of me in the photos of the photos I took. And again, this is the safest way to use photos on your websites. But what about when you need to use outside photos? Maybe you wrote a blog post, use some of your own photos, but you want to fill it in a bit, or maybe you're just talking about something that you don't personally have a ton of photos about. There are many reasons why you might need to source outside photos, but you want to make sure that you're doing it properly and safely, particularly when it comes to Canva. So something I see a lot in different Facebook groups where bloggers are talking, or even like Reddit forums, is, if you pay for like the Canva Pro, you get access to all these amazing pro, premium images that would usually cost more, but you can use them. And people think you can use them as stock photos, but this is not the case. And I actually did verify this with Canva support. So here's why I think people think you can do this. If we look at the Canva content license agreement, it says in this 5A section, the use of pro content in online or electronic publications, including web pages, blogs, ebooks, and videos, is limited to a maximum of 480,000 total pixels, for example, 600 by 800 pixels per content file where unedited. So that kind of sounds like, okay, I could use this as a stock image as long as I stay within that pixel limit. But that is not the case. So if we come to this 3 section, pro content license, At the end here, it says, you may not copy, download, or distribute the pro content as a standalone item. So if you have done this, if you've used those Canva Pro images, those premium images as stock photos in your blog posts, I would go and I would remove those. What they mean that you're allowed to use these for is using them in designs, like Pinterest pins and things like that. Now, there are rules around that too of how much you need to change these images and things like that. So go look that up for yourself. I'm, not like a lawyer or anything like that. So I just want to make sure you're looking at these agreements yourself. But I really want to make sure you know that you cannot use these pro images as stock photos. I think more people are realizing this now because now something new in Canva is when you go to download one image, it'll say that you can't do that. So now they're putting more of like an obvious stopper there where before there was not. So now let's talk about where you can source images from, starting with my least favorite options first. So here we are in Google Image. Let's say Times Square, NYC. We have all these images, but you certainly cannot use these in a blog post. Many of these are copyrighted. But you can come to Tools, go to Usage Rights, and then you could filter for Creative Commons. Flickr is similar, and actually there's a lot of Flickr images here. Where you can come, you could search, let's just do Times Square, let's see again. And some of these will be copyrighted, some will not. You can actually filter. What I don't love about these options is there is some margin for error. They have copyrighted images, some are free to use, some have a little bit of a gray area. And I think it opens up the possibility of making a mistake. So in order to avoid making mistakes, I prefer to use sites where all of the images are royalty free. So you can just go NYC Times Square. And you have all these images. I mean, definitely make sure you know what you're talking about because some of these, like this is not Times Square. It's Washington Square Park. We have all these images and honestly, you can click into an image and there's usually additional info. Like there's some keywords here. So let's say it's of a park and you're not sure which park. Sometimes you'll get the info in these keywords. So a little tip there. So this is Pexels. And then another one that's royalty free is Pixabay, where you're allowed to use all of the images on the site. Now, another option is to actually use websites where you purchase the license for the image. This is an even better option, and here's why. There have been many instances where people will steal other people's photos and put them on Pexels, or maybe they put them on Pexels or one of those royalty-free sites and then take them down and say that they're copyright. There are loads of different scams that can happen with these free licensed websites, and that's why we'll talk about protecting yourself in a second. But with a site like Deposit Photos, that's what I use, you can actually pay for the license, and they have different plans that make it relatively budget friendly. What I really love about Deposit Photos too, and I'm sure other sites do this as well when you pay for the photos, is you can see your downloads. So I can see what I have downloaded and I have a record of it. Now, once you stop using this site, like if I canceled my Deposit Photos plan, I think this would go away. That's what their support had told me. So I think it's really important to keep another record for yourself. And I want to go over a few ways of how I do this. The first thing I do is I very visibly credit where I got the photo. So here is a post on the best things to do in NYC at night by a local. There's me doing one of the things that I mentioned. But the thing with this post is even though I've done all the things that are mentioned and I live in New York and I know what I'm talking about, I don't typically have my camera with me at night. A lot of these things, even if I've done them, I just don't have photos of them. So here's an example of Times Square at night. I'm sure if I really looked somewhere in my phone, I have photos of this, but I just didn't on hand, so I grabbed a stock photo. Now what I do with Pexels, to the best of my knowledge, I looked this up before I got on this video just to check, but I just want to say, just in case I read it wrong, to the best of my knowledge, you do not have to credit for using Pexels and Pixabay. Double check that for yourself. But many people don't credit because you don't have to, I don't think. But then you can never prove where that photo came from. It's in your best interest to credit. So I not only credit the photographer and link to their actual photographer portfolio on Pexels, I also credit Pexels and I link to the image itself. You can also kick this up a notch, and this is what I highly recommend, by actually saving proof of the license when you use a photo, whether it's a free stock photo or a paid, just to really protect yourself. So you can create, say, a folder. I have another blog, Epicurean Culture. This is an example from that blog. I could have like an Epicurean Culture stock photos folder, and for each blog post have screenshots of the license agreements. However you want to do this, maybe there's even a better way. This is how I am currently doing it. So this article was on vegan Spanish food. Here's just a picture of all the photos, but I actually, with deposit photos, you get a receipt from each photo that you download. So I put screenshots of that agreement, that receipt, even with order numbers and everything, into this doc, so that if anyone ever, sees this photo of gazpacho and says, that's my photo, it's copyrighted, you shouldn't be using it, I can quickly look at, okay, they're saying this photo in my vegan Spanish foods post is copyrighted. Let me pop into Google Drive, find the doc where I saved all my license agreements, and quickly find that. This may feel like overkill, but if you get in trouble for copyright infringement, the fines can be, I believe, up to $30,000. I mean, that would be pretty crazy if you just used a stock photo in a blog post, but the fines can be very high, and you don't want to have to pay even just like thousands of dollars for something that maybe you're like, I did have the rights to that photo. I did have permission to use it. I did get it from Pexels or a place I was allowed to use it, but you don't have proof of that. You want to make sure you're protecting yourself. All right. Now, I hope you found this video helpful. This is not meant to scare you. I'm sure some of you are watching this thinking, oh my goodness, I'm not keeping a paper trail. I've used those Canva Pro photos before. Oh my gosh. This is just meant to give you tips that are going to help you protect yourself and avoid these really expensive copyright infringement penalties. I know many of you would never steal a photo on purpose, but sometimes either it was an accident or a scammer is out to get you. There are many reasons this can happen. So just take these tips with you. If you've made errors in the past, go back, put that at the top of your to-do list, go write those, mistakes, and just move forward with more knowledge that's going to help protect you. Before you go, make sure to head to the video description to grab access to my free travel blogger resource library, 55 plus resources, all meant to help you grow your traffic community and income. And make sure to subscribe so you don't miss future videos sharing these strategies that can help you turn your blog into a profitable full-time business. Happy blogging!